What is up guys, Andy, Forest Dean runner here, back with the Forest Dean Autumn Half Marathon race review today. Just before we get into this, a massive shout out to all of you for all of your support across all of the social media platforms when I posted up my race results. Obviously the video that I made on Sunday was the best that I could do with what I had. Obviously I will explain why I didn't take my camera. I actually, for this race, had every intention of taking my camera with me. I didn't in the end. I'll explain that in a second. And I just cobbled together as many photos as I could get from our awesome athletics club members and some finish line video from my wife and my parents. So yeah, it was a bit of a short vlog and video, and I kind of wanted to say more at the time, but I thought no, I quite like splitting out the race analysis and the race video. So let's dive right in. The plan for this weekend was to just go out and have fun. I said to Doug, my coach from TMR Coaching, link below, I said to him, I don't want to taper for this race. I don't want to kind of save myself or anything. I want this to become part of the plan. When I started with him, he knew that my wife has surgery on her ankle next week, so Tuesday the 9th of October. And I didn't want to waste any time, so I wasn't prepared to taper for this race, but we came to a compromise, as I said in a previous video, and so I just did one workout that week on the Tuesday and had an easy run on the Thursday. However, we still clocked 40 miles that week, which is still pretty decent because I average around 40-45, so that's cool. We weren't tapered and we weren't particularly fresh going into it, and we'd done some really hard sessions leading up to that. As you guys have seen, those 3 by 8 minutes were brutal, so I knew I wasn't going to be fresh and popping, shall we say, but I was really hoping to beat last year's time of 1:27:34. So let's get a bit of perspective here. Let me just round this up. Last year's half marathons that I did 3 half marathons in 2017. The Forest Dean Spring Half Marathon, which I came in at 1:29:12. I did the Dimmock Half Marathon, which is nice and hilly, came in at 1:30:11. And then the Forest Dean Autumn Half Marathon came in at 1:27:34. So obviously I went through a massive training block earlier this year for Newport, which was inevitably cancelled, but then we've had 4 half marathons this year. And this is the awesome part. This is what makes me smile, as you can see. So we ran Hereford back in May, 1:24:19. We ran the Severn Bridge Half Marathon, I still can't believe this, in 1:20:44. Then we ran Swindon a couple of weeks back in 3 weeks ago in 1:23:51, and then the Forest Dean Autumn Half Marathon 1:23:52, so 1 second apart there. And obviously you've got to bear in mind, if you haven't seen back to those race videos, the Hereford Half Marathon, I took the wrong turn in the last mile, so I was pretty much guaranteed a 1:23 but didn't get it. And then obviously the Swindon Half Marathon, we were on for, looking at the times, we were actually on for a 1:18, 1:19. It was insane, and I was flying, and then I got this stitch and it just wiped me out. So if we average those 4 half marathons that we've run this year, it's kind of like, it's blown my mind a little bit. We've taken, we were running 1:29, 1:30 last year. We've taken nearly 10 minutes, taking the PBs off. PB from this year to the 1:30 last year, nearly 10 minutes off our half marathon time in 12 months, running 40 to 45 miles a week. I'm really, really delighted with that. So as I said, going back to this one, because I digress, but I wanted to throw that in there because I know I enjoy stats and things. So I went out and sort of lined up on this race mentally I felt good. I said in the intro of the video, mentally I feel great, physically we'll see how we go. Anyway, gun goes off and I'm feeling good in a mental place, shall we say. So we get going, we get moving, and I get into a good rhythm, and kind of as we're approaching the end of the first mile, I thought to myself, the legs just don't want to know today. They didn't have any pop, and I knew they wouldn't have pop, but they didn't want to turn over either. My hips were a bit sore, and I thought, oh, it's going to be one of those days. And bearing in mind the Forest Dean Autumn Half Marathon has about 750 foot of climbing, and there are 2 really, really big hills that span on for over a mile in the course, let alone the other little rollers that you go up and over throughout the whole course. It's not a flat course. So I thought it's going to be a long day. Went through the first mile split at 5:55 and thought, oh, this is quicker than last time, because last time I think it was about 6:14 or something. So I was already 20 seconds quicker there, and I thought, well, I tried to memorise my splits from last time, so I knew roughly where I would be, but I knew that I didn't want to push for a time. Anyway, mile 1, 5:55, and I thought, nah, I can't do this. I can't keep up this pace. It's too much. There's too much of a challenge ahead of me. When that first big hill hits at mile 3.5, I'm just going to be game over. Turned around, Lee was right behind me, literally within a few meters of me. And I turned around, I saw him, and I slowed down to run with him. He said, "Are you all right?" I said, "Yeah, I think I'm just going to need a bit of company today. I'll run with you if that's okay." And he was saving himself for Cardiff Half Marathon next weekend, or this coming weekend. So the long and short of it is we ran together the whole way. But we paced ourselves really well. And so we went for the first 3 mile splits, which are a kind of average downhill. I've got the Strava just behind me here. So we went through it in 6... Strava's saying 6 minutes flat for the first mile, 6:13 and then 6:03. So a really solid first 3 miles. And that's the point where we hit the first hill, the first big hill. We're chugging up the hill, and we've got a chap in front of us from the Spirit of Monmouth Running Club, and we're running with him. He goes past us, and we're kind of like, we're just taking it easy, and we're running up that hill together, and we're working well together, kind of still uttering a few words. So we knew that we had it in us. But even Lee said to me at the time, his legs didn't want to know. So both of us were already not in the best mental mindset, but we just kept pushing each other going. So we got at the top of the hill in a 6:41, which still blows my mind, and then a 6:49, finishing off the top of that hill, bit of a downhill, another uphill, and then a bit of a downhill. So I kind of looked at my watch when mile 5 went off and thought, oh my goodness, there's only one more hill to go. So we got that out of the way, we can get rolling. And then we did that one in 7:01. That was the toughest hill. So we got at the top of that hill in 7:01, and I was like, I knew at that point, I'd memorised my splits enough that I knew at the top of that hill last time I clocked to 7:21. So I was 20 seconds ahead on that mile, even though going up that hill, I think we both felt a bit like death. We got to the top of the hill, and I was saying to Lee on the way up, mate, we get to the top of here, and then an average downhill to a place called Mallard's Pike, which is another 2.5 miles on from there. And last year, I clicked into gear there, and I really put the hammer down, went crazy. And I'll show you the splits on screen in a second. So I was kind of banking on feeling like that at the top. Didn't feel like that at the top. Still clocked to 6:26 on the next one. The next mile is really interesting. 9th mile, 6:31. Now that is 148 foot downhill. It is a good downhill, but I just didn't feel good enough to attack it. Bearing in mind last year when we ran this course nearly 4 minutes slower, that mile I ran a 6:05. So I ran that mile last year 25 seconds quicker than this year. So this year I was very much keeping an average pace throughout. Didn't feel like I had the pop to just go for it and, you know, make the most of the downhills when we slogged up the uphills. Didn't have it. I didn't have it. But the good thing is the consistency paid off, because then on the last uphill slog, we clocked a 6:45 and a 6:40. And from last year, that's when things went south for me. After putting in that incredible effort on that mile 9, we then ran a 6:58, a 7:19 for mile 11, and a 7:03 for mile 12. Well, as I just said, for us this year, it was a 6:45, 6:40 and 6:55. So the consistency throughout this half marathon was perfect. The long and short of it is I didn't personally make the most of the downhills when I could have done, but we paced it really well so that we just kept that average pace throughout, and that for me was a really rewarding feeling. It came to the last bit, me and Lee were running together. We still had that Spirit of Monmouth chap in front of us. He went around on the first hill of mile 4, and then we caught him back up again. And so we were coming up the last few hundred meters. Me and Lee were there, and we'd already said, oh, we'll cross the line together. Anyway, we went past this chap, and then this chap tried to sort of put a mini kick in and get back past us. And I just looked at him and went, go on mate, you've got more gusto than I have right now, just go for it. Not knowing what position we were in. But Lee wasn't having any of that, and he did not want to let this chap back past him. So Lee kept going. So then there was suddenly Lee, this chap and me, and we came just into the finishing straight, and I went back past this Monmouth chap. I thought, well, if Lee's going to stay in front of him, I've got to put some kind of effort in. So I put a little sprint on to get round him. Lee started sprinting because he thought he could hear the Spirit of Monmouth chap sprinting behind him, and actually it was me, and we ended up having a sprint finish, which is what you see in the video, and it was great. We really pushed ourselves. Lee ran an awesome race, came in 2 seconds ahead of me, first Forest Male, got a trophy for that. So Lee, if you are watching this, mate, it was brilliant. As much as the banter we're having, we ran the best race, and actually we ran the Hereford half marathon together back in May, and he made me run a really smart race there together. We work really well when we're running together. And it was great to run with someone, because on a day when you don't feel like you have it, I think my time would have been way worse if I hadn't have run with Lee, because we just kept each other honest. And although we were both suffering and our legs didn't want to know, we just ground it out. So overall, to come through that course on a 1:23:52 has blown my mind. And as much as the Severn Bridge half marathon is still the best half marathon of the year, this one now is definitely up there in second, because I can't explain like how hard that course is, and to clock that time on that course, that's a good 1:21 on a flat. I'm sure it is. I'd love to know what the equivalent stats are, but I'm sure it will be a really good time. So obviously I wish Lee best of luck for Cardiff this weekend. I'm now jumping right back down into the shorter, sharper stuff, but that is how the race went. And to be honest with you guys, I've come off the back of it feeling great, like really pleased with the performance, really pleased with the discipline, another solid understanding, learning experience, going through the mills of the emotions and coming out the other side with another great time. And just, I think, to collectively grab these 4 half marathons that we've run with this year and put them in that kind of bracket of 1:20 to 1:24, and to run 4 of them so consistently, it feels so rewarding. And it was great to wrap up the half marathon year with that final result. So anyway, I've waffled on for nearly 11 and a half minutes. That's insane. So again, a massive thank you to all of you. If you still made it to this point in the video, massive kudos for listening to me drag on. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. Later this week there will be episode number 3 of my favourite running YouTube channels, along with week 3 of the 10k training series. I can't wait. I will see you then. Till next time.